All right, welcome everybody to our school engagement and schools versus cancer pop-up call. We're excited to have you all. Thank you. This is an amazing attendance and the amount of people that RSVP'd that they were interested in joining this call and learning. We do have a little icebreaker in the chat. So think back, maybe short time ago or a while ago, but think back to elementary school and throw in the chat if you can. Um, Elementary, what was your favorite subject? Let's get into that mindset and think about elementary school first. We're going to talk a lot about school. That's the whole purpose of this call. But think about elementary. What was that favorite subject? What was that thing you loved to do? Or maybe, what was that thing that maybe you didn't like to do? That's okay as well. So again, thank you. This is our call centered all around school engagement and schools versus cancer. And we're going to dive in now. Three of us here tonight. I'm going to let each one of us introduce ourselves. Jolene, start with you. You'll just have to come off mute.
Absolutely. My name is Jolene Wegstein, and I'm a volunteer in the California, Hawaii, Guam region. I've been relaying since 1999. My connection to this topic, American Cancer Society, and really engaging with our schools. I'm actually an elementary school principal in my paid job, but still love to volunteer with the American Cancer Society.
Thank
Hi,
you, Maddie. Right.
I'm Maddie Petro. I'm on the National Campus and Youth Engagement team, and I'm the Fundraising Innovations Chair. And I also sort of oversee and I'm really involved with Schools vs. Cancer.
All right. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is Dylan Spencer. I am your national director here at the Society for College and Youth Engagement. So in my role, overseeing all of our strategy for elementary, middle school, high school, and college. I am based in Morgantown, West Virginia, and I started as a middle school volunteer. Then high school, college, community, this became my life. So have been doing this about 19 years altogether. Youth and college always being one of the focus areas. So excited to bring this call together. We're also going to have some panelists later, but let's dive into the agenda. So just to give you an idea, what are we going to talk about today? So we're going to start out with what is schools versus cancer. So as Maddie mentioned, serving in the role of fundraising innovation, she is helping from that volunteer standpoint to oversee this new program for elementary and middle schools. So we're going to talk about the program. What does it entail? And what can schools get by participating in the program? Then I'm going to take over and talk about, most of you are probably here because you're Relay for Life participants, captains, ELT. We're going to talk about how can they participate in schools versus cancer and benefit your relay, or if you're here for strides, you're making strides against breast cancer events. Then we're going to shift. So we're starting with elementary, middle school. Then we're going to shift to high school with High Schools Against Cancer. And Jolene is going to talk about all the great ways to include high schools in your community events, whether it's starting teams or being day of volunteers. Then we're going to kick it over to our panel. We've got three subject matter experts that have done a great job of bringing youth to their events. End with Maddie for some fundraising ideas and then take some questions as well. For those of you that may have joined a couple minutes late and you're not seeing what's going on and you're not understanding what's going on in the chat, you can still add in our icebreaker was what was your favorite subject in elementary school? So feel free to still add that into the chat if you would like. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Maddie. Let's talk elementary and middle school. So what is this Schools versus Cancer program?
So Schools vs. Cancer is our elementary and middle school program, as Dylan said. And we also have high school and college programs, which Jolene is going to talk about. So with this program, we aim to bring fundraising, cancer education, and community service into the classroom in a fun and exciting way for both the students and the educators. So this is also one of the first opportunities for students to become familiar with the American Cancer Society. And some things taught to the students include sun safety, tobacco prevention, healthy eating, and active living. Thank you, Dylan. So now I'm going to talk about more what this program includes. So this program is entirely customizable, and we are working on different resources right now to provide different ways of doing Schools vs. Cancer. So it can be done in as little as a half an hour or up to 2 whole days. we've worked really hard to ensure the opportunity for it to be extremely customizable. So with Schools vs. Cancer, we also like to implement a small or a simple fundraising element for cancer patients, research, and advocacy. And I will touch more on this before we end and give some ideas. And as for classroom content, we have materials for grades 2 through 5 that align with state teaching standards. I also want to note that this is really customizable and it's meant to be implemented in the best way possible for each school. There's no like one size fits all for each program for each school. And lastly, we have a program that gives back to schools. So I'm going to talk more about the give back incentive that we have. So this is an awesome opportunity that we have for our elementary and middle schools, where we actually provide checks back to the schools for participating in Schools vs. Cancer based on the final fundraise amount. So you can see the exact numbers and percentages on the slide in red, but the American Cancer Society gives back to up to 20% of funds directly to the school. And these funds can be used on phys ed equipment, school supplies, sun safety areas, sunscreen, or even incentives for student participation or anything else.
All right. Thank you, Maddie, for that overview. And again, you'll get this recording and all the resources as well. For those of you that may have been doing this for a bit, you may remember our previous programs, which were called Relay Recess or Relay Field Day. Really taking a hard look. We changed those programs about 2 years ago to this Schools versus Cancer program to bring together the best of those programs and make it, a program that makes sense to our elementary and middle schools. And the direct give back is based off of feedback from the schools. We used to do previous programs that gave incentive prizes or gave Staples rewards programs. And we've really heard loud and clear from our schools that, especially post-pandemic, they need to fundraise for their schools more than ever before. So this is our way to help and raise money for the American Cancer Society and also benefit our schools at the same time. It's simple, it's easy, it's clean. They fundraise for us, we cut them a percentage check right back. That's their reward recognition, and they can use that check how they see best. Now, we know you're all passionate about how can you raise more money for your community Relay for Life events, or you're making strides against breast cancer events. So we know there's hundreds and hundreds of elementary and middle schools out there. So how do you get them to sign up for your relay so that it benefits your overall fundraising? It's very simple. Let's look at relay first. All that we're asking for an elementary or middle school to do, if you've got that teacher that says yes, either it's a teacher or it's a nurse or a gym teacher, because those are the ones that go after to get these, to make these programs happen. All they need to do is simply register as a team for your Relay for Life website. That's it. And they're officially a Schools versus Cancer for your relay. All that we ask is when they are registering to mark themselves under that company affiliation that's usually used for all of our sponsors. There's now a company affiliation for Schools versus Cancer Elementary or Schools versus Cancer Middle School. By marking that, they're officially a Schools versus Cancer team for your Relay for Life or your strides. That's it. That's all they need to do. If they forget to mark it when they're registering, it's an easy fix. They can fix it themselves in their dashboard, or you can work if you have an online chair with your event that has back-end access to the website, they can fix it, or you can go to your ACS staff partner, ask them to correct it as well. But that's simply it. For registering and for them to get the give back, we just ask them to register. Now, who all needs to register for this? Because Schools versus Cancer, they're probably going to do their event at a different point than your relay, but it's going to benefit your relay. What does that mean for registration? Do we need all of these elementary and middle school kids registered? Absolutely not. The idea, again, simple, easy, and fun. All that we ask is for whoever is going to lead that team to register. They can use their team link and all the resources that we provide to share out to fundraise, but we don't set that expectation. If they want to register all their students, they can, but that's not an expectation that we're putting out there. Again, keep it simple, keep it easy, keep it fun for them. So again, for Relay, all they need to do is mark that they are a Schools versus Cancer Elementary or Schools versus Cancer Middle School. You can then go to these links on this slide and see all of the Schools versus Cancers across the nation, and see, which ones are participating. For Making Strides Against Breast Cancer, it is the same exact setup. Same thing, they register for a Strides, mark themselves as a Schools versus Cancer elementary or middle school under that company affiliation. We've had this for Relay for a couple years. This year, this is brand new for Making Strides Against Breast Cancer because we know we've got some schools very passionate about breast cancer and getting involved in that. So whether it's Relay or Strides, let's tackle and get every elementary and middle school engaged in this simple and easy way by forming a Schools versus Cancer team, hosting their own event, which could maybe just be a fundraiser with some education, and they're getting that give back. Great question in the chat. If they are a K-8 school, it doesn't matter. Whichever one, they can even split it up if they want, or if they're just one school altogether, you can pick one or the other and they can just label their school, and it's perfectly fine. All right, so now that we've talked about elementaries and we've talked about middle schools, I know a lot of you are always asking or saying the popular line, we need more youth at our relays. We hear you loud and clear. So we're going to give some tips and tricks, but also put some stuff in the chat if you've got some success stories. So going to pass it over to Jolene first, and she's going to highlight recruiting to form teams and recruiting for day of volunteers.
Yeah, we know that we want to engage our students when they're young to get them talking about Relay for Life or Making Strides Against Breast Cancer and being lifelong volunteers. And so if we can hook them when they're in elementary school, that's great. My own two kiddos didn't know that not everyone relays all the time. They've been relaying their entire life, so they don't know any different, right? But we really want to engage students when we can. And so sometimes that comes in at the high school level. So a couple of ways that we can really connect with connecting our high school students with an opportunity to volunteer for the American Cancer Society and make that connection. So we're listing a couple of different approaches of who to connect with. And, we always talk about relationships and building those teams, and that partnership is really the best way to get folks to volunteer with us. So some of the ways that you can connect with this: meet with your high school principal, superintendent, or board of education to see if they're, as a district, as a school, there's really this connection and desire to push this kind of from, I don't want to say top down, but really from a larger group speaking point, not just one person on a campus. So that's one great way. Another great way to connect and get people to form a team at a high school level is really connect with students. Like if you know some high school students in your community and they're ready to go, let those students take that leadership opportunity and approach someone on their campus to be the group that's making that statement of, we'd like to do this and we'd like to have your support behind us. Most of our high school campuses have a plethora of clubs. I know, Club Rush Week on the high school campus is a big deal, but there are clubs to really meet the needs of all of our students' likes and interests. And so there are two things you can do. We can connect and make a club, right? A High Schools Against Cancer club on a campus. Or why not piggyback with another service club that's already existed on the campus to see if a High School Against Campus team is something that pre-existing team would like to also connect with. So we're talking National Honor Society, the Leo Club, Key Club, your student government. How cool would it be to have multiple teams from a high school based on their grade level student government? Like that would be so fun, right? Another way to get more students involved. So those are some great ways to connecting with that advisor of those campuses and those clubs to see if they would like to make that connection. Another great opportunity that I think that we forget about often is our sports teams. We talk about our teams really building those relationships and partnerships and not just playing that sport, but really building that camaraderie with them. So why not do that in a team setting? But they're fighting against something else. They're not fighting to win the game, but they're fighting to win the battle against cancer. So bring a group of baseball players together, the volleyball team, maybe the band, whatever kind of club or group that's already there, but sports teams are a great way to do that. Another spot that I think we miss often when we're talking about connecting with our high school students to form teams, our PTA, PTO, PTC, whatever you want to call it, your parent-teacher organization, right? High schools have them. Sometimes they call them a booster club, but they're there. And those are families that are all about supporting and making a difference in their high school community and their communities. And so that is a great group to approach and connect to see, do they want to help support their students in engaging at that high school level in this community event? So that's another great connection. So what are we asking of these groups, these students, these heads of districts and schools? We're really asking, basically, can we bring the American Cancer Society to your campus, especially if there isn't already an existing ACS presence or a High Schools Against Cancer club? They could start that club. They could sign up and become a team at their event, at their local event. And so this would be really talking about how do we connect that community with that high school team or that high school club. Most of our high schoolers, if they don't already have an ACS club on campus, probably aren't going to know what the American Cancer Society is doing, what we stand for, what we're fighting for, what we're raising money for. So that's got to be part of that conversation when we're asking. We're asking these high school students with their clubs and organizations to partner with the American Cancer Society to continue the fundraising efforts so that we can support our programs, services, research, and advocacy, as well as really finding the cure for cancer, right? That's another big piece of it. I think that we want to just continue to make sure that throughout all of this, we're reminding of the purpose of what we're doing with our high school students. Because remember, another component of this is creating, like Dylan's story, right? I started when I was little and I just kept going, and this has always been my life with the American Cancer Society. We want to continue that legacy of volunteerism with our volunteers. We also want to look at, and one of those asks is that we are asking these teams to fundraise, right? So what does that mean? And really, it's not just about that day of event on the event, but really, how does our community fundraising work? What's that process? Some events are held when school is not in session, right? Some of our community events are held in the middle of summer and school is not happening. But how do we continue to keep that engagement going? So is there an opportunity? Is there a group, a club that still wants to come to be there that day of? Or maybe they're not going to be there the day of, but they want to support and do things all through the school year and do their fundraising that way. So really looking at what is the date of your community event? How would that play into a school calendar? And how do we need to support those volunteers? Because we don't want to say, oh, well, our event's in the summer, so I guess you can't do it. Instead, we need to say, our event's in the summer. How would you like to stay connected with us? And really shape that thinking so that we're continuing to build that relationship and not eliminate someone's opportunity to volunteer just because of the calendar, that kind of a thing. All right. So the next part, so that's really about getting teams connected, getting those high school students connected as a team, a participant in your Relay for Life event, just like you're recruiting your community-based teams. The second part of this, and this is often where I think we have a lot of success in hooking those volunteers to start, who then become team captains, team members, event leads, campus leads later on in life, is really starting with something very, very small, in that sense. I'm going to use that term small, but it has a huge impact, right? So I don't know about you, but in my community event, we often need a plethora of day of volunteers because there's 1.5 million things that need to be done. And you're trying to have your team captain, and you're trying to get your events, your space set up. You have the participants checking in. You want to make sure that everyone has their glow sticks ready for the glow lap at 9 o'clock. All of those things are taking place throughout the day, and there's 1 million things that need to happen. We also have a great opportunity to recruit youth volunteers for our day up. It's a small compartment of time. Maybe they'll stay all day, maybe they'll stay all night, but really it's about, I'm asking you for a couple hours of your time to volunteer for a great organization. A lot of high school students need to have some sort of volunteerism as part of their graduation requirements. A lot of high school students are looking at, what can I do to get connected with my community? Or I want to explore some avenues before I head down that college application route and want to put some things in that I've connected and volunteered in my community. This is a great opportunity for that. It's really looking at those, being really clear and concise. What do I need? What type of a volunteer would be great for this? Make things easy to sign up. Like, let's talk, we're not going to put on the phone 25 hours. Like, what do you want to do? Let's get some really quick Google Sheets, Google form, something that can just be posted and sent out right away so that as students are thinking about it, it's real time for them, can add that information. And I spoke a little bit about those service requirements. Put that in your ask. Like, hey, I'm sure you need some service hours. Do you have a form I can sign? I'd be happy to do that for you to make sure that we get that this time credited towards your service hours. Here's another part of it, and I think that we fall into this slippery slope, right? We don't want to assume we know what our youth want to do for their volunteerism. I know as a community volunteer, it's been around for a minute. The initial instinct is like, oh, we want them to do entertainment, or we want them to do games and activities, that kind of thing. Our volunteers of all ages have so many different skills that could be used in so many different ways. So before we say, this is what I need you to do, we really need to think about, here are all the things that we have going on. What do you have to bring to the table? What other ideas do you think would make this really be great? If we have our youth leads or our youth volunteers doing some part of our registration, right? Let's hang out and greet people. How would you want to do that? If we're looking at adding them onto the entertainment schedule, right? Or we're asking them to help find entertainment, give us your ideas, not just who I'm telling you to go and find. Really give them that empowerment, because that's how we get them coming back year after year, as well as that's how we really connect and build that relationship. So we have lifelong volunteers who are passionate about the American Cancer Society. So we've listed a couple of ideas that are usually things that our most events have. Again, these aren't the only things that we could ask our youth volunteers. Event day greeters, right? Having students stationed all around at different places to really welcome, be excited, and welcome all of our participants there. What a great thing to do is have those clipboards ready to go so they have information. They may not know all of the answers off the top of their head, but you've given them some resources. Great. Great place, registration, Luminaria, right? I have seen some amazing Luminaria bags come from some of our youth volunteers who spend some time with some great art and can really listen to somebody saying, I really want to honor my grandmother, and these are some things that she liked. Can you help create a bag for me? Outstanding. It's also a great way to just connect and realize and make that connection that there are hundreds of people who are affected by this disease. And when we can see that with those bags, it's pretty powerful, right? So making Luminaria bags, setting up those Luminaria bags, getting them ready for that Luminaria ceremony later. They could be over, in your relay store, or working in some of those things with your banking, with your money, doing that kind of a connection with it. Absolutely. Your entertainment schedule, helping bring entertainment in, helping run that. Why not MC your entertainment for the afternoon? How cool would that be? A lot of events have a kid zone, right? It makes sense that we put young adults or students in our kids zone to get our kids to want to come and play. They're more likely to come and play and participate in the activities with someone who's more close to their age than someone like me. I think they probably would head that way. I'm pretty sure someone would be more excited to go into a kid zone if Maddie was the one at the front saying, hey, come in and play these games, than if it was me. But to each their own. But that's a great place for our youth volunteers to go as well. Another thing that's really kind of cool, this is a great idea, is really let them talk their own story. Having a table set up about how they're connected and what their high school does and how they are connected with our community and fundraisers they're doing. That's a great way. It's a day of fundraiser. Awesome. Right on. That's a great connection that we can get through there. So we're really looking at pulling away from just, I need you to come and set up tents every day, or I need you to do this. It's really about that partnership and connection. What can our youth bring to our events? Because our youth, our high school students, are a huge part of our communities, and we want to make that connection and that engagement across so that they do go in to our campus Relay for Life events as they head off into their next adventure. So I've kind of shared a little bit of that high school perspective and things that we can do to have teams connected, how we get schools connected at the high school level, as well as how can we get day of volunteers with our youth students, high school and even younger. If you look at that, you can look at your scout teams, those kinds of things, but really connecting that. But I'm now going to turn it over. We actually have 3 panelists today who are going to share with us a little bit of information about some things that they've really done that have worked great about connecting youth, connecting high schools, connecting elementary schools, all of those ways of connecting our youth into our campus or our high school, our community events, and really connecting that. So we're building the next generation of volunteers. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Rashika. And if you could come off mute, introduce yourself and share us a little bit about what you do with your volunteers and with Relay for Life and the American Cancer Society.
Yeah, so hey everyone, I'm Rashika and I'm from the Relay for Life of Gibbs Cancer Center in Greenville, South Carolina. I'm currently a high school junior and I've been doing Relay since 2019, I believe. Yeah, 2019 when I was in sixth grade. So I did middle school Relay and high school Relay. I'm currently doing high school Relay too. So throughout middle school, I would go to the yearly Relay events and I would help out my team by doing small things like manning our bake sales or staffing volunteer events at our school. Last year, however, I decided to start the first ever youth led chapter of Relay for Life in upstate South Carolina, which started with around 10 members, but now we're at 40, so it is going well. After establishing it, well, me and my leadership team, we wanted to build like a youth community in upstate South Carolina because we were the only team. So we slowly reached out to other high schools in the area in order to gain more involvement. And my goal was pretty much, like I said, to form a youth community that was larger than one chapter. So I started to personally reach out to my own friends from other high schools and encourage them to start a chapter. And I also used the help of my local event lead, who I was in communication with. And she was also helping me out by reaching out to like the superintendent or the principals of other schools so that we could get the chapters established and she could work out all the technical difficulties. I obviously couldn't because I am still a youth participant. And having the connection with the event lead is what really helped me start up a whole lot of high school chapters in my area, and it is thriving right now. We started with one last year. Currently, we have around we have 5 high schools participating in our local relay, and I think over 65 youth participants, which is a big jump from the 10 that we started with last year. And since then, my personal role in my home event has grown as well, as I'm now our marketing and youth lead for our event, and I manage all of the upstate South Carolina social media because our relay really wanted me to take a step with the thing I'm trying to do with incorporating more youth into our event. So they let me handle all of the social media so that I can try and cater to a youth audience so that we can keep expanding. I try to post on the social media as frequently as possible, and I usually include a communication style that will keep the youth engaged. So for my personal relay, we have a Facebook who my co-lead manages, and then I manage the Instagram because it's easier to reach out to youth on Instagram, in my personal opinion. And the approach has been working so far. So yeah, if you have any questions about my journey or want to know more about my middle school or high school experience, please let me know and I'll be happy to talk to you. I'll be in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Rashika, for sharing that. That's a great way of like just really looking at that partnership. I appreciate that you shared that partnership with your community event lead really helped to build more chapters across your region. So great job. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for all that you do for the American Cancer Society. I'd like to turn it over to Sophia to share a little bit about her story. Sophia?
Hey, sorry, I'm in a conference room, so it might echo a little bit. But hey guys, I'm Sophia. I'm from Relay for Life at Florida State University. I'm currently a senior in college and studying biochemistry. But so I am the executive director, so essentially it's kind of like what we call like the president. And something that I thought that's really, really important, especially in creating like the youth engagement aspect, and Jolene was touching about it earlier, was that trying to get like ideas from our own community and trying to use people's strengths and weaknesses to our advantage. So if someone's better in one aspect, like talking to people, they should be the ones talking to organizations on campus. Or again, I'm in a college, so it's a little different for me from a high school and a middle school, but talking to different organizations or talking to different like groups of people versus talking to teachers and faculty and staff. Because on our campus, we also have teams that are from just not only faculty and staff, but also people who just want to fundraise by themselves. And we also try to reach out to people on our campus, trying to see if they want to do their own entertainment, if they want to do dances, if they know bands. And it's also really fun being able to see people find their friends and go to support their friends and then end up going and actually seeing what the event is. At Florida State University, our relay is a free event for purposes that are like university rules. but because of it, we try to like go around it and try to like sell tickets through other avenues and have people enter when they're registered. So basically what we try to do is try to get as many people in the community and like bands and stuff like that to come to our event, so that people who they can enter for free, but to actually watch them, and like they'd have to like make a donation, or like we have QR codes, so like it doesn't like restrict anybody from seeing their friends play, if that makes sense. And then we also try and like advertise, I guess, with like free materials. So like we give them free shirts. Who doesn't want to wear free shirt? So like free shirts and like different other merchandise and stuff like that to try and like get them in that aspect too. And if you guys have any other questions, you're more than happy. I'll be in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing, Sophia. I really enjoyed kind of hearing that different way of engaging different groups on your campus, as well as in your community, to bring people onto your campus event. That's a really great strategy, especially getting that local talent to come on to your event. That's fantastic. I think it's great. We have one more panelist today. Karen, if you could come off mute and just kind of share your experience with engaging with our youth and in your community event.
Absolutely. My name is Karen Waddington, and I'm the communications lead for Relay for Life of Thurston County in Washington State. And I love, Jolene, you hit the nail on the head when you said you just don't want to assume, because that's really what we did. And we sort of had to fail to succeed in this. And so what we did was we created a council, and we were going to have youth leaders, and then they were going to help us sort of map out the next 5 to 10 years and what they wanted Relay to look like. And we were so excited. We've been working for a few years. We have the football team and we have the Interact Club at the high school where we are, and where we have our relay. And the football club is just, the football team is just amazing. They come and, they do unload for us, and the Interact Club is just great. They come and help set tents up and direct people where they're supposed to go. And so that's what's been going on, and they're runners for us and all of that. And so we wanted to expand that. So we thought this will be perfect. We'll have the council, this will be great. And nobody showed up. And it was just like pulling teeth to get anybody to participate and be a part of this. So when we went to the Interact Club and we went to the football team and said, what do you guys want to do? We want you guys to be involved how you want to be involved. And when they realized that they were empowered to really become those leaders and take over some of those leadership roles, they're now in charge of our kids' activities. They're in charge of luminaria bags and creating and doing some just creative artwork on some of the luminaria bags that we have. And they're empowered to, be at registration and be able to, and information, and give information and direct people where they need to go and help them, when they're walking the track or bringing water to them, whatever it ends up being. Now we have more kids than we've ever had because they started inviting their friends. And then now we have, this last year, we had more kids than we've ever had. We had over 100 kids that participated, and they did absolutely every piece of putting our relay on, which is a huge relay. And they actually, all of these kids had a piece of every single one of those, because we just opened it up and said, hey, you guys are the leaders. You guys do it, take it on and make it yours. And it has just been just amazing to see, some of these kids who maybe have never done this before, don't know anything about relay, and now they've got a why, and now they've got a reason to come. And they maybe had a grandmother, or they had an aunt or a mother or somebody that has fought cancer. And so now they've got a why, and now they've got a purpose, and now they've got a reason. And so we're getting kids involved not only for day of, which is critical for us, but now now they're actually starting to come to other things and help us year round. And now they're inviting more of their friends. So we, like I said, we had to sort of fail to succeed a little bit, but it has worked out absolutely amazing. And I'm so excited for the next relay just to see this continue to grow and see them have a bigger impact.
Thank you for sharing, Karen. That's a great story. And both Dylan and I were chatting in the chat box, or in the chat, really about how that is a big thing, right? That we had to fail to succeed. So the greatest things, the greatest failures have led to the greatest accomplishments, if you think about that in the world. But it's a great way to really think of that. We had this great idea, but it wasn't driving. I love that question. How do you want to be involved? What do you want to do, right? Really empowering that. I think that's something that from all three of our experts and our panelists today, that was a big component of, that theme of empowering our volunteers, and it's empowering our youth and kind of letting go of the reins a little bit. Kids can do amazing things. We see it every day. I work with 4-year-olds to 11-year-olds. I see it every day. And so really letting go so that things can take flight and be amazing. So I wanted to thank Rashika, Karen, and Sophia for taking some time out of your busy schedules to share this information with all of our volunteers. We appreciate all that you do for the American Cancer Society and Relay for Life, and hope you continue to be a proud volunteer throughout your next adventures. I'm going to turn it back over to Maddie to share a little bit more with us today.
Yeah, thank you. So now, because I'm the fundraising innovations chair, I'm going to talk about some more fundraising ideas. So schools registered for Schools vs. Cancer will have a website that can be shared and fundraise on, and it can also be through Relay or through Strides or high school or colleges against cancer, as discussed before. And as for some fundraising ideas, so t-shirt sales are a super easy example. A portion of the t-shirt sales could be delegated to the website. Or students may have to pay $1 or $5 depending on what works for your school. Again, everything is so customizable and it just really depends on your school and your community. But they might have to pay $1 or $5 to bring a stuffed animal to school. Penny wars are when students bring in extra change and fill up a jar. And thinking back to when I was in middle school, I loved voting on my principal's Halloween costume. We did it every year. And something like this could totally be turned into a fundraiser, seeing which costume raises the most money and then asking them to wear it on Halloween or the week of. And we also want fundraising to be possible and within reach. The best way to do that is to make it fun, simple, and engaging by using these ideas or others to engage at the classroom level. And I also, lastly, just want to reiterate that the more fundraise, the more is given back to the school. So if $5,000 are raised, $1,000 are given back to the school. Think about how much this could do within your local district while also raising money for cancer patients, research, and advocacy.
Thanks, Maddie. And I think it's just a testament again of there are so many opportunities, and a lot of these fundraisers aren't just elementary and middle school. These can be utilized in the high school space. And again, it goes back to what makes the most sense for that school. And you may have situations where the school may not want to fundraise, but you can get them to be day of volunteers or help in different ways. Take these simple things. That silver saves lives. It is so easy. It's such a tried and true. A lot of you have probably done it. Giving everybody a regular size water bottle and asking them to fill it with dimes. There's $100 a water bottle. It's such an easy concept. Again, think of it in the easiest way possible. We don't want to task too much. But I do want to highlight, and we're going to go into questions. So feel free to throw anything in the chat for either our panelists or for Maddie, myself, Jolene. But think about, what can make your event better in 2025 as we celebrate 40 years of impact? And this is it, incorporating Schools versus Cancer for your elementary and middle school as a new opportunity, bringing in high schoolers for, your teams or your day of volunteers, or is there a local college? I'm going to kind of point a pride right here, and I'm going to say, visit relayforlife.org and type in your zip code and see, is there a local college or high school event near you? Maybe they're doing their own, and I challenge you to connect with them, especially if they're already having an event, And think of it this way. We want them to come out to our events, so let's also go to theirs. I can tell you, and I'm sure Rashika and Maddie and Sophia can, acknowledge and say as well, like, no greater joy than the community also coming to their event and even just saying hi for 30 minutes. I always challenge everybody to go to a Relay for Life that is not yours and just be a participant and just hang out and eat the food and walk the track. And I will tell you, we've got some amazing college and high school events. We have brought on, I think, our number in 2024 is almost 50 new high school and college events this year, which is incredible. New schools are coming every day. I just got another interest form today. And I will also, this week, they're in their fall fundraising week. This is a challenge to raise $100,000 in 5 days, and they're currently at $65,000. They've got 2 days left, and I know they're going to crush it. So there's so many opportunities. Maddie just put in the chat, she went to Strides and, such a different experience. But I'm going to go to questions. You can come off of mute, or if there's something in the chat, or Maddie, Rashika, Jolene, Sophia, anything that I missed, for this audience.
If you haven't had a chance to peruse some of the things in the chat, take a minute to just kind of go back and see some great ideas were shared of engaging youth volunteers for Day of Volunteers, as well as some great ideas of just connecting with your different campuses. And so it's just some great things. A couple of links were dropped in there as well, straight to those websites on our acsresources.org page that gives a lot of those resources. So check out the chat if you have an opportunity to do that.
Brittany, great question. So the question is, my state has just implemented volunteer hour requirements. Is there an official volunteer hour certification form? Great question. While we don't have like an official, I can take that back as a takeaway. Maddie, you and I can strategize on that one a little bit. And of course, once we have it, even if it would be helpful to everybody to kind of just have a letter template that you can use, that is something we can definitely take back as a resource that you guys can just, tweak to fit your need. And we can throw it on ACS resources. I'm sure that's an easy one that Maddie and I can tackle for you all.
Another question in the chat was, has the Schools versus Cancer program ever been marketed at the district level? So that kind of has it been coming down from the district to schools? Really looking at, is that something that has had a huge impact? Because yeah, you're right, that give back, that percentage give back is a huge pull. Districts are facing deficits in a lot of different areas as we are, just going through the motions of figuring out all of the things that surround public education in particular. And I'm sure our private education is dealing with the same thing. So I know that as a principal at my school, this is something that I'm kind of talking with my staff. I don't want to push it down their throats, like, hey, you have to do this because I'm the boss. But really, what are some things that we can connect with? I actually have a meeting with my my director and superintendent to just see, like, is this something we want to talk about at a district level, or is this something we need to do a little grassroots with? So I think there's definitely some components. I think if you know someone who works at your district office that has an in of like, would this be something that the culture of that district, that culture of that community, that school community would be ready to go with? I think that's a great way to start at the top, right? Same story. I think if you're looking at that, like, I don't know that culture yet, but I know the culture of this school is ready to go. And then they kind of become the demonstration school or the expert school in that, and can kind of showcase, hey, look, we did this. We spent a couple of weeks talking with our students and teaching them a little bit about sun safety and healthy lifestyle, those pieces. I had the opportunity to kind of preview all of the lessons before they went live to make sure that they were really attainable for teachers to do without impacting their grade level standards and impacting their requirements, that piece of it. But how do we marry those two things together? So there's some great content in there that's just really about leading a healthy life, right? Who wouldn't want their kids to learn about that? And then, so we took some time and taught our kids how to be safe and healthy while they also were learning about cancer prevention. In addition, we raised $5,000. So $1,000 came back to our bank account, and look what we bought with that. We were able to use these unrestricted funds to pay for this thing that we really, really wanted. it's a cool story. I mean, a cool way to do that. So I think you really have to look at weighing those two. I haven't heard specifically of a place where a district has come and said every school in this district is going to participate in this program. It's still fairly new, but I think there's opportunity for that for sure.
All right. Any last minute questions before we go to our last slide? All right. Well, if questions come up following the call, which I'm sure they will, I do want to highlight again, Maddie has been on the call as well as Rashika from our what we call our National Campus and Youth Engagement team. I'm going to give it a shameless plug here. This is our team of national, collegiate, and high school students that serve in different roles across the nation. Maddie in our fundraising innovations, highlighting and really promoting and working on schools versus cancer. But there's also students that serve as our national high school relay chair and college chair and advocacy and training. They are a team that is here to support and help grow our program nationwide, not just campus, but community as well, working hand in hand with our national community volunteer team. So again, if you have questions or thoughts or want to run an idea, Maddie's email's in the chat. You can go to her. But there are, again, so many opportunities here in the youth and campus space. And we know that by implementing this, this is, again, in elementary, middle school, a great revenue opportunity. So check out acsresources.org/campus. You'll find all the information there. If there's something you're not finding or you have a question, or maybe it's something we need and you wish we had, reach out to Maddie and Maddie will come to me with all of the concerns that she is great at doing. And we will get that going. So Maddie, anything that I forgot before we sign out for tonight?
No, I think we covered it all. I mean, really, I'm just gonna go back really quick just to say, I went to my first Strides event a few weeks ago and it was really cool. It was so impactful just being there and being a participant and not being a leader for once. And really, I would encourage everyone to just go to a local high school, go to a local Strides event. I mean, it is the month. There are definitely still some left.
All
But yeah,
right.
thank you, everyone.
Yep. Thanks all. Thank you for all that you do for the American Cancer Society as we work to end cancer as we know it for everyone. Have a great night all.